them out. Okay, as Peter mentioned, I'm Carrie Schaller. I'm from Dow Chemical. My role is Business Process Director, and what that really means is I have in my organization the teams that are managing both the IT and the business process portions of our systems, really that support us across operations. Process control is in a separate space, and any of you want to go talk process automation, our friend Angela is covering that in a 4 o'clock session. Hopefully most of you were in the large group this morning and saw Billy Barden on the panel. Billy is got a few jobs at Dow, and really the key one that's relevant here is he is leading our efforts for Industry 4.0 in the company. We really embraced, like many of you have, embraced the principles around Industry 4.0, Dowized it as we do everything, and made that a program called Manufacturing 4.0, focusing on a number of the different offerings within Industry 4.0. We've built up some innovation centers, and then where I fit in is my organization tends to be kind of the build out, scale up, implement, and support of systems. You heard we have innovation centers. Mark is here. Mark works in our innovation center in Texas, and they are really a factory of building up great ideas. But what I'm really here to talk about today, human-centered design, I want to leave you with just one idea as a consideration for your build, for your design. And that is the fact that we can have all kinds of great technical ideas. We can all come up with great tools and then look for places to apply them, look for places to implement them. What I want to talk about today is a technique, human-centered design, if you've heard of that, where we're really starting from a different end in mind. We're looking at people. We heard the word personas mentioned earlier. We're going to take that a little bit deeper, how we look at our users, how we look at where we want to be in the future in terms of personas and what those people need, so that we're hopefully building for that future and building something of value. Quick note, if you do read the news, you may know that we are getting close to the end of a journey of a very large merger and now split. At the moment, we are still a large company of Dow, DuPont together. Our two companies merged late 2016. That was when we announced. And then we are very close to spinning out the 3 separate entities. I will be part of what is future Dow, and that's a material science company. And we're spinning out 2 other entities with DuPont. So just for terminology, we'll have the material science company, which is Dow, here number 1. A specialty products company, which is formed from businesses that came from DuPont, businesses from Dow together, and that will be named in the future DuPont. And then in the middle we have Corteva, and Corteva is an ag science company formed from the former Dow and former DuPont ag businesses together. To say this has been easy would be a big stretch. In my organization, we have the enterprise system, so we're a very large SAP shop, and kind of the pulling apart and putting back together the SAP systems alone of these 3 companies has been very, very challenging. But that's who we are. So what I want to talk about really quickly, leave you with this thought, is human-centered design. What is it? It is a problem-solving process. It's not limited to IT, and in fact, when I'll share a couple other slides, and I will tell you that when I took a human-centered design training class, we did it with the problem in mind of self-checkouts in grocery stores. So it was not an IT topic, but it kind of got you thinking about how you would solve if you were the persona of the kind of person trying to get yourself quickly through a checkout. Big part of this is empathy. Trying to put yourself in the shoes of that person, either that person you can picture today, or as I'm going to describe, maybe you're trying to build what that persona ought to be doing in the future. But looking at it from that user, what they need to do their job, what their pain points are around their job, and building to that. It really can be used for any size challenge. And if you're familiar with design thinking, or if you've heard that term, something we really employ at Dow as well, it's that and it's more. It's really incorporating the user experience and the adoption and the implementation around that. So, really quick, I'm going to kind of go around the wheel of these different steps around human-centered design. You're really starting from a user-centric point of view, and you're trying to see things from that user's point of view. So empathy is really key in this. Then there's a whole design thinking process that goes around that, in which you're looking at desirability of solutions, and then you're looking at viability of solutions, feasibility of solutions, with the user in mind. A really other critical part of human-centered design is user experience. So now I'm looking at different components, trying to build it from that user's end in mind. If you're actually talking about, it could be for an IT solution, or it could be other interactions that you're having with a person in a process. What is that user interface? How do you want to build that out for the user? You want to test that, and you're testing it with categories that you've built along the way to say, how is this usable or not? And then you want to have good adoption practices and assess what the business impact is. I can tell you one part of my job is manufacturing cybersecurity, and we got a face back. Yes, it is. And we were asked recently by a consulting group that came in, what's your method for implementing? Do you have a carrot for your users? And I said, oh no, I'm all about the stick and power and threats. And I kind of meant it. I was sort of joking, but realized that, oh wow, what if I actually looked at it from the other perspective and it wasn't just, you're going to do this. So as you work your way through the HCD process, here's 5 steps. You're discovering, you're learning about the people, again, from the user end in mind. What's the context of that? You're describing, you're synthesizing learnings that you're getting from that. Then you want to design solutions, and you can kind of repeat your way through that. It can be in an agile mode, but working your way through that, ideating, prototyping. You want to test, and again, you want to test with the conditions that you describe that the user will want to see. And then implement. And when I show you our final slide, you'll see I make one little push for a methodology you can use for change management. So we heard the term persona earlier. And the personas that, I'm going to share an example with you of some work that we've done of building out several different personas for folks within the company, and where we're trying to take that. Again, as we picture that user of the future, I was having a conversation before I came in here. You talk about, cost cutting, and you might say, oh boy, we're gonna cut 200 people, and then we'll have saved, blah 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 blah. Well, okay, if you're trying to change the company at the same time, what makes you think that the 1,000 people that are left, or whatever that number is after you cut, are the people that are equipped to do the job of the future? If you're trying to design something for the future and all you want to do is cut some people, you've got to be thinking, what is that end in mind? What am I building for? Who are those people? And how are they going to get that job done? Not just, and surely the people that have survived are the ones that can do everything that I want them to do. So we're trying to look from the future in mind of some different roles, some different personas. And as you look at this, you say, okay, archetypes, they're descriptions of users that help us describe a type of user. When we went through this training class where we did the grocery bagging, we talked about different kind of personas. At different times, I could be a different person. I might be the, I'm in a big hurry after work and please don't talk to me and everything better work. Or I could be a totally different persona on Saturday afternoon that I'm wandering through the store at my leisure and I want to be able to find product information and I don't really care how long it takes. So I'm Carrie, but I could have a different archetype or I could have a different persona depending on the condition, and I might need some different solutions to get me through those two different things. And the way we develop those, we gather information, meeting with the partners. If we're trying to envision a future one, we have to do some ideating to figure out what that future kind of person might be. And then they're helpful because that's what you're really designing around. I won't drain all of that, but this is just some information about how you work your way around the wheel, looking at that person. And again, the critical thing here is that that person and the description of them, what you've built out about them, they are the hurried person after work that needs quick groceries or whatever that might be. You're working these categories around them. How are they thinking and feeling? What do they see? What do they say and do? What do they hear? This would all go in as you're building your solution, and then as you're thinking about how you would test that solution, how does it meet those needs? And then finally, here's a few that we have developed at Dow. Jobs that exist today, but what we've done is try to figure out what would we like to see in the future. So you can see 4 of these across the top. You can see descriptions that go with them, describing what is it that they would like to get out of their job. Got some categories down on the left. What are the pain points that go with that job today, if you were looking at that in the current state? And then envisioning a digital future. What would that person like to see in that role? So if we use the example of the reliability engineer, some of those pain points might be things like they're spending too much time just fixing day-to-day issues. If you're looking at one of the key things that we're trying to solve for today, this bottom one, there's lots of data. There's too many data silos, and those folks are spending so much of their day trying to extract data from the many silos so that they can put that together and make decisions from it. Could envision a digital future in which now they've got self-service data analysis. They're able to pull that for themselves. They're not trying to go to all those silos to get the data they need to do their job. Now they can maybe instead understand process data in the context of their business, because now that data has been pulled together for them and synthesized more efficiently. They're getting advanced notification of failures. They're doing predictive maintenance. And then, carry on through the other roles. But again, this is a way of kind of looking at it from that user's point of view. And that's just zip, zip, zip. It's really easy. Now you've got your solution built. What would you do next? Hey, you would develop those solutions for the future. Again, instead of let's think a bunch of tools and throw them at people and see where they stick. Test against that detailed persona build. We looked at the different dimensions you could test around that. And what I'm sharing here about HCD, this is not proprietary to Dow. We've licensed some materials, but they're commercially available. There are things that you can get as well. Map out those interactions. Within our team, we've actually taken those roles that I've had there and more, mapped out how those would interact in that future state, and then implement that with hopefully robust change management. And I'll wrap up. I saw you had ProSci on your first slide, Peter. That is, if you are or are not aware, the ADCAR model available from ProSci. We've really kind of bought in with that as a pretty effective change management model. So, leave you with that thought. Human-centered design, good change management, build for the future.